back with more Game of Thrones. This is episode 5 of season 8, and I have so many feelings going into this episode because I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. I'm also extremely nervous, and yeah, I just don't know what to expect, and that kind of terrifies me. But it is very exciting at the same time, because I feel like you're never going to know what direction they're going to take with the show. You know, I don't think many people thought, oh yeah, Arya's definitely going to be the one to kill the Night King, like at the start of the season. You know, so I feel like anything could happen, and that's kind of exciting. Although, given how the last episode ended, we lost Rhaegar, we lost Missandei, Daenerys seems to be going kind of the Mad Queen route, which I'm personally not a fan of, but that doesn't mean it's not... What's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad route to take or an unjust route, you know? It's one of many, and they said going into the season, cast and crew have all said, you know, not everyone's going to be pleased with how the show wraps up, and because there's just so many characters and so many stories, and everyone has their own different favourites and stuff, it would be an impossible task to create a satisfying ending for everyone. So we're just going to have to see how they wrap it all up. And obviously this isn't the end, it ends next week. But I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen with this one, because I feel like we could be seeing the downfall of Daenerys, which is I'd actually find quite sad to see after, you know, 8 seasons and 8 years with this character. So that would be really sad. But again, anything can happen. I really don't know what to expect. Very nervous. I'm hoping that this is the end of Cersei and Euron. I'm hoping most of the Starks get through it, really. You know, Jon and Arya are definitely in my top 3 characters. And Davos, as long as he's safe. He's probably the other one in the top 3. No more dragon deaths, please. I can't take it. And, yeah. Part of me wants Dany to just burn them all. Another part of me is like, okay, let's not do this. Let's not go that route. But yeah, I'm really excited to check out this episode and see what's going to go down. I think it's going to be quite something. The penultimate episode of the whole show, I feel like shit is going to hit the fan. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
I still don't know how her coin has landed, but I'm quite certain about yours.
Oh, shit. I mean, I want Jon on the throne in the end, but... I mean, props to the makeup department for doing the impossible and making Emilia Clarke look less than perfection.
She trusted you.
I hope I'm wrong.
He does truly believe what he's doing is right, and I do respect that.
Goodbye, old friend.
Oh, that's making me feel feelings. They've had some of my favourite scenes together in the entire show, those two. It's really hitting me now that this is like wrapping up. Marshmallows? Oh no, I feel like he's starting to doubt her too. I mean, she hasn't done anything mad queeny yet, so I feel like it's kind of justified killing him. I don't know how to feel. Oh shit. I don't think that's what she meant by Dracarys. Not burn my shit.
I don't have love here. I only have fear.
She's clinging onto that instead of trying to build up love. Oh!
You will always be my queen.
He does love her, and that's why it's going to be so sad when he kills her. Oh. She might feel better if you bang her.
Alright then.
Oh dear. Yeah, he can't get past the whole she's my aunt thing, which I think is fair.
I don't be fear.
Exactly. That was the only love she had, and now that she can't even have that.
If you hear them ringing the bells, call off the attack.
Wait for me outside the city.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You'll know when it's time. Your brother was stopped trying to get past our lines.
Oh shit. Shouldn't have left Brienne then, should he? Oh god.
When have I ever been able to convince Cersei of anything? Try. If not for yourself, if not for her.
It's like when Jaime let Tyrion out in season 4. Is he really just gone back to Cersei just cause? So I'm kind of pissed off about that.
She said they would be. 2 of the 3 dragons are dead.
Makes a lot of character development kind of pointless.
The city will fall tomorrow. Tens of thousands of innocent lives. One not particularly innocent dwarf. Seems like a fair trade.
Got a point. Well, I don't want Tyrion to die.
If it weren't for you, I never would have survived my childhood.
Aww.
You would have.
Oh, this feels like a final scene. This feels like a goodbye, and that makes me shit myself. Dead, 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 dead. Oh, I hope you burn. Oh, I mean, this lot can all die. You know what I mean? And I just love seeing the dragons just wreck shit. Dragon. Oh shit! Oh no. See, I couldn't be in one of these armies and stuff. Like, the people who have to run and aren't riding on horses, I pass out halfway to the gate. Well, you did not live up to the hype, did you, buddy? A lot of innocent people are gonna die, but it's gonna look really good. Oh, I'm very nervous for Davos. He's not a very good fighter. Now, honestly, if she doesn't ring the bells, all the other deaths from this point on are kind of on Cersei too. Okay. Okay. Now, if Dany kills them all anyway, I'm going to have a bit of an issue. Oh no. Wasn't that Bran's vision, like the one dragon flying over King's Landing? Shit. No. No, 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 no. Ah. What are you doing? What are you doing? I think he's realised now, yeah. There's no going back from that. This is just slaughter for slaughter's sake. I don't see how there was any justification for Dany doing that. There wasn't. It was just plot. I feel like that's just where they wanted to go with it, so they just let it happen, instead of actually giving Dany a reason to do that. I just don't think that's in keeping with her character. They literally surrendered. Varys' ghost right now is just like, bitch. See, if she had just flown straight for Cersei, I'd have kind of understood it, but she just killed loads of innocent people. And I don't get why. Oh, fucking hell. Oh! Cersei doesn't seem to like it when buildings in King's Landing are destroyed, and it not be on her own terms. Can't believe he left Brienne for this shit. Yes! Okay, well, you deserve that, you prick.
Sandor. Thank you.
Oh, there's so many goodbyes. I don't like it. Oh.
Hello, big brother.
Are we getting to the game bowl?
Obey your queen, Sir Gregor.
Ooh! Shit. Is he dead? I love that there's just a fucking dragon flying over them, and all either of them care about is like killing each other. Oh! Darth Vader unmasked. Fuck. Well, this is... I don't know how to feel about this. I think that's the only blood on her hands that's ever mattered to her. This guy is stubborn. Something just came out of him. I feel like Danny just got added to her list. Maybe she wouldn't write the whole name out though, because she would die of old age before she finished. Though she would get to save a tiny bit of time, because it would just be Mother of Dragon now. I like how they're kind of paralleling between Arya and the Hound. So obviously their journeys have been so intrinsically linked. Oh, it's the mother we saw earlier. What a coincidence. Don't you fucking dare. No, no. Not a death that still haunts me to this day. Oh shit! Oh! Fuck. Oh, and he's dying by fire. Oh, the fire killed the Hound. That's kind of cruel. But I feel like he won, technically. Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm loving this, but at the same time I'm hating this. I don't know if that makes sense. Don't you fucking dare. No, 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 no. Get up, get up.
We can't go out there. You have to.
What are the chances she finds that mother and daughter again? No? Oh shit. Oh dear.
I want our baby to live.
I mean,
I want our baby to live.
you got given the chance in the last episode. Ugh. You know who else didn't want to die? All the people you blew up.
Not like this. Not like this.
Shit. Oh. That's it for them? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to feel. What are the chances you'd find them again? Wow. It's almost like they're trying to emotionally manipulate us into hating Daenerys. Oh. Well, I'm glad you're okay. Well, that interview with Emilia Clarke when she was, like, clearly not happy with how things turned out for Daenerys this season makes a lot of sense. Well, that's a cool shot, though. Gives me, like, Legend of Zelda kind of vibes. Okay, I'm going to apologise in advance because I feel like this is just going to be kind of almost disjointed kind of rambling thoughts. I'm literally just going to go through notes in the order I wrote them, so it's not going to be like chronologically through the episode or anything. But yeah, just bear with me on that because I feel like I have a lot to say and also conflicting feelings and stuff, so it's a lot to kind of digest because, you know, there was a lot in this episode. But first, I'm going to go through Connor's thoughts. If you didn't know, Connor joined me for the previous 2 episodes for reactions, and he'll be back for the finale next week as well. But yeah, he just sent like an essay. So he said, first of all, really enjoyed the episode, loved it. When I saw the Lannister army surrender, I figured that would be it. But of course, Dany is crazy, so she burned the city to the ground. Whilst it made good TV, I don't know if it's in her character. I don't think we had enough of her simmering before she boiled over, but saying that it's not completely unbelievable, so I'll allow it, and I basically agree with that. I'm glad we got Clegane Bowl, and I was incredibly disturbed by what he looked like under the armour. I winced a lot during that fight. Jon's definitely going to be king, and he'll kill Dany. Very disappointed with Jaime and Cersei. Not necessarily because of the characters, but because the writers ruined a perfectly good relationship with Tormund and Brienne, and instead put her with Jaime, who then ultimately betrayed his whole character arc by returning and not killing her, which I thought he would. It just felt like a cheap way out. With that, I have a lot to say about how Jaime and Cersei were used in this episode. But I always liked Brienne and Jaime, and not Brienne and Tormund, because she clearly wasn't interested. And people thought Brienne and Jaime was like fan service, so Brienne and Tormund would definitely have been, in my opinion. But overall, the episode was great. The fight scenes were brutal and viable, acting was solid, but be very interesting to see how they finally wrap it up. So that's Connor's thoughts. I share a lot of them, but yeah, this episode was a lot, man. I mean, it looked great, the directing was stunning, and the performances were really, really good. And again, you know, opinions are not facts, so take that with a grain of salt when I delve into this. And if you don't like Dany, fine. If you like Dany, fine. If you don't like Cersei, fine. If you like Cersei, fine, etc, etc. I completely understand all the points of view, but this is just my 2 cents, and if you disagree, as long as you respectfully disagree in any comments, fine, because I like having discussions and debates about shows. That's kind of the point of these videos, really. But if you're just going to be an arse about it, and just be rude, and, you know, not really make an argument, just say I suck, like a few comments I've gotten over the past couple of weeks, you know what, just save a few precious moments of our short lives on this earth, and don't fucking bother. So, yeah, where do I begin? So yeah, there's a lot I feel like I don't know how to feel about, and I think I need to talk about the overall pacing of this season. I know a lot of people have been complaining about this season, thinking it was rushed, and perfectly honestly, I haven't really felt that so far until this episode. And the only thing I felt was rushed, like Connor was saying in his thoughts, was this transition in Dany's character. I said last week I didn't want them to go with the Mad Queen route. They clearly have gone with that. But just because that's not what I wanted doesn't mean it's not a viable option for the show to go down. However, I think if they were going to go down that route, they needed to either have this season be longer to give them more time to develop Dany's downfall, because I think that happened way too quickly, or they really started having this happen like last season. I think there have been hints since the start of the show that this was a possible option. That's why I'm not like completely out of the blue, like, oh, they've made her like the villain. I do think there was some emotional manipulation going on in how they presented Dany in this episode that I don't entirely agree with, but I'll get into that a bit later. But at the same time, with like the shorter season and how everything's happened so fast for Dany, and she's suddenly just like acted on instinct because she just lost Jorah and Missandei, and you know, even this episode she's like, the only thing she was really holding on to was like the idea of being loved in Westeros and stuff, and the only way she saw that was through Jon, and he kind of rejected her. Another ship dies, great. So she was kind of forced to feel like all she had left was fear, so I feel that's kind of why she acted the way she did, although I don't agree with her obviously attacking after the bells had been rung. I completely disagree with that, and I don't feel like that's something Dany would have done. So that's an issue I have kind of with the plot, or at least it's not something she would have done yet. If they developed it more and given more time to that, yes, I'd have been absolutely fine with it. So while I'm disappointed with the Mad Queen route, I'm not angry about it because I think it was a clear option. But yeah, I feel like they rushed that aspect of things, but like I was trying to say, meandering. With like the short season, everything happened to Dany so quickly. She's lost so many people, all these advisors. She feels like she's really alone. It's really happened quite suddenly in like the past couple of episodes. And I'm feeling that as a viewer, thinking, oh my god, this has happened so fast, like this sudden change, and she's lost so much so quickly. So as a viewer, I'm kind of feeling the same thing that Danny was feeling. So I can kind of relate to that sudden change in a way. But I do feel like they needed an extra episode or two of exploring, like, Danny potentially losing it in the way she did, because I just don't think enough time was given to that particular story thread to justify it, you know? So, yes, that was that. What else? Okay, Varys. I mean, we've known since last season he was definitely going to die, because Melisandre told him that he was going to die. And he went out the way Danny killed the Tarleys as well, which is interesting. But I've always loved Varys as a character. I think he's been really, really interesting. And I love his relationship with Tyrion, which is why it's kind of really sad that Tyrion kind of indirectly calls that at the end of all things. And that little goodbye between them, I think, was really, really nice, because they've just had some incredible scenes together throughout the show. So I'm kind of glad that that was the focus of Varys' final scenes. And now his ghost is smiling like, oh, I fucking told you so. But at the time, you know, he did what he thought was right, and he went out believing he was doing the right thing. You know, he even said, like, I hope I get proved wrong. I hope I'm wrong about this. And it seems like he wasn't, unfortunately. By the end of the day, at the time, he was punishing her for something Danny hadn't done yet. And if people hate Danny, like I said, it's fine. But I am going to be not apologising for Danny completely, because like I said before, as soon as the bells were rung, she should have stopped. She carried on and killed innocent people. That I do not agree with. She went too far. Everything before that, I'm going to kind of defend her on. So yeah, I think it's more like the writing kind of standpoint in how they treated Danny that is a damage to her character. But again, it's to the root I think could have happened, so I'm not too mad about it, like Connor was saying. So yeah, I think it was an appropriate end for Varys. I think he got a good kind of rounding off to his story arc. And I enjoyed his final scenes, so good on you, buddy. Rest in peace. Now, the Mad Queen kind of thing. I think there was some serious emotional manipulation that hit me as a viewer and kind of took me out of things a bit. And this is kind of where I'm going to be a Danny apologist for a minute. Don't hate me. But, you know, when Cersei blew up, what's it called? I can't remember now. Is it the Keep? No, that's where she is. Whatever. You know, when Cersei blew up everything in the wildfire, season 6 finale, they could have shown a mother and daughter running around getting killed by the backfire and backlash of that explosion, you know, or getting crushed by a bell, like that guy. They could have really gone into detail of showing all the innocents that killed in that explosion, because there were plenty. They could have followed a character we knew, like they did with Arya in this episode, seeing all this destruction, being completely distraught and, you know, completely ruined by it. But they didn't, even though Cersei did a horrible, horrible thing. And yet in this episode, Arya met this mother and daughter like 3 different times in the whole of King's Landing, and watched them die and saw their bodies after they'd been burnt. And I think that's kind of emotionally manipulating you against Danny, in a way they haven't done in similar situations with, like, Cersei. And just for me personally, I think that probably won't bother some people. I feel like, you know, it's just because they have an end goal here with what they wanted to do with Danny. It felt like she just had that kind of changing mind and just killed all those people after the bells rung, just because that's what they needed to happen for the plot. It didn't feel justified in my head. And this is going to be the ironic thing. I think this turn of events would work really well in a book, because you can explain the character's thought process really detailed. and go into loads of depth about how these characters are thinking, and you can really read about it and see that and understand it over pages and pages. And in a show, obviously, you need to convey all that in like a look, or you don't have time to really delve into the thought processes of these different characters. So I feel like if you wrote down this scene and wrote it out, and we had thoughts of like what's going on inside Dani's head, you could justify her decision a lot better than it can be conveyed on TV, if that makes sense. I know the irony behind that. But yeah, that's just something I kind of threw out there. But I do feel like there's a lot of emotional manipulation to try and make you hate Dani that they haven't done on other characters before who have done just as evil and horrible things. And I think that's kind of unfair on Dani as a character, personally, in the way they handled that. And in the same way, they kind of tried to make the final scene with Jamie and Cersei feel really beautiful. I just spat everywhere. I apologise. They tried to make this like emotional scene with Jamie and Cersei. She's like, I don't want our child to die. You had an opportunity in the last episode. Like, don't act like you're completely innocent in all this and you had no chances of saving this kid's life. It's only when you realise that there was no other way out and you didn't take the precautions needed to protect your child, is when you suddenly want sympathy. And for me personally, I didn't feel sorry for her. I don't feel sorry for Jamie because I feel like I'm really disappointed that he was just horrible to Brienne in the end and went back to be with Cersei. But yeah, I'll talk about all of that a bit later on when I get to it. But yeah, I just felt like I didn't appreciate as an audience member the emotional blackmail and manipulation we were kind of being shoved with that mother and daughter who happened to run into Arya so many different times, and what are the chances? But again, that's more of like a writing script thing, and just because it's the penultimate episode of the entire series, and we kind of need to justify that Dani's lost it now and she needs to be put down, because, you know, I don't think there's any way in hell Dani's going to survive the next episode. I think Jon will kill her. So yeah, that I didn't really enjoy. That kind of took me out of the episode a bit. I felt a bit patronised by that. I feel like I could just make my own decision on whether that was right or not without needing to shove it down our throats that all these innocent people are dying when they haven't done it before with circumstances like Cersei in season 6. I'm sure there'll be people who disagree with that, and that's okay. That's just how I felt. And then I did like seeing... I mean, I did like the other perspectives, like Arya running around and trying to kill Cersei, ultimately like not working out because Cersei was killed by rubble. But it'd be very interesting seeing where Arya's going to go from here. I really liked her last scenes with like the Hound and him like sending her on her way, and I'm very excited to see what they're going to do next with her in the last episode and how her character arc's going to kind of wrap up. Because I feel like what the Hound said to her might change her aspect on life maybe, and she might agree to go with Gendry, which would be really happy because I just want one of the couples I actually love in the show to end up happy, because they're the only one who might actually, so we'll see. But then obviously like we followed Jon a bit for the battle and stuff, and he's clearly, yeah, he's like, okay, oh dear. He's kind of had his eyes opened to what happened with Dani and what she's kind of become. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to react to all this, because he rejected her advances before all of this at the start of the episode, but that's just because it's a Targaryen thing. He doesn't, you know, that's not how he views relationships, and that's fair enough because you probably shouldn't sleep with your aunt. Let's be honest. And yeah, Tyrion making all the mistakes, poor guy. Loved his last scene with Jaime. That was really emotional, and it really was a goodbye scene because Jaime's dead. And I'm fascinated to see what's going to happen with him next. How is Dani going to treat him next? How is Jon going to treat him next? How is he going to treat himself after all of this? Because he's kind of almost... he holds a lot of responsibility for this happening, which is kind of scary, really. And yeah, his betrayal of Dani to kind of release Jaime, I think, is going to have some consequences, which may not be very good. So I'm excited to see more of him and see what this episode put him through and how that story's going to wrap up with him. And seeing Grey Worm kind of mourn Missandei for 2 seconds and threw her thing in the fire. Like, oh, okay. again, all these like little characters they could have like wrapped up easily with like an extra episode or two. You know, would it have hurt? I don't know. You had 7 episodes last season, couldn't you have had 7 again? Okay. But still, seeing him do badass battle stuff is always good. And yeah, I think the whole battle itself like looked great. I love seeing the dragons blow shit up. That's fine. The crossbows were completely useless in this episode, whereas the last few episodes have been really good. I think there's there's not much consistency there, but in terms of that kind of stuff, it doesn't really bother me. And as a whole, I fucking love this episode. I think it's actually a very good episode of television. If you watch it on its own, I'd be fucking blown away. But I think in terms of like the overall series and the narrative is where a few flaws kind of crop up. But in terms of like the production and the acting and the writing, for the most part, I actually think it was very, very effective and really, really well done. And just a stellar episode. But in terms of like the narrative of the show, I think is where it kind of falters a bit. But nonetheless, I really, really loved it. And then Clegane Bowl. We actually finally got Clegane Bowl, the Hound versus the Mountain. That's kind of nuts. But I really like that kind of final confrontation between them. Kind of funny that the Mountain was harder to kill than the Night King. But I'm not going to complain about that, because honestly, Arya killing the Night King is one of my favourite moments in Game of Thrones ever, and I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I really don't understand why. I thought she was so badass. Yes. I love that so much. But I like this final battle, seeing him like the Mountain without the helmet was gross, and the Hound just desperately trying to kill him, and he just wouldn't go, and then in the end he kind of sacrifices himself at the same time just to make sure that this bastard dies. And the fact that they jumped into fire together and the Hound was killed by fire, I think is quite the poignant end to his journey, because he hates fire, but he hates his brother more, and that kind of won out in the end. So I feel like the moral victory was the Hound's, and I think that was a really satisfying end to his character arc for me. I actually really, really enjoyed Clegane Bowl. I think it's one of the highlights of the episode, because they didn't kind of gloss over that battle. They could have easily not had Clegane Bowl, because I think in a way it's kind of fan service, because it's something people have wanted for so long. But I think it felt quite natural. So I actually quite liked that, and the way it was set and everything. And I love the Mountain just fucking killing Qyburn like that. Boom. And his head was like... I actually found that death quite like really funny. But there you are. So yeah, loved all that. I think it was a really satisfying conclusion to that kind of whole story arc. I really, really enjoyed it. And the power it has, that those two facing off, considering they've been in like 2 scenes together in the entire show, is kind of... That's quite an impressive feat, really. So yeah, the whole battle looked great. I loved all the battle sequences, really well filmed and everything. I could feel the tension. And then Euron. Glad he's dead. What an arsehole. Glad that Jaime was the one who did him in. That felt kind of poignant and nice in terms of narrative. And yeah, he still got his own kind of personal victory at the end, because he was like, I'm the man who killed Jaime Lannister. And he's not wrong, but the rubble was the thing that actually killed Jaime Lannister, so did you really win? But yeah, I think that was a satisfying end to him. You know, I don't think there's any way he was going to survive the show. So I'm glad he's dead. It was satisfying to see it finally. And yeah, I think it was overall a good end for his character. And then I think my final point really is Jaime and Cersei. I feel like they've really underutilised Cersei this season. I feel like she's had like 5 minutes of screen time in the whole of the season. Which is kind of crazy, really, because she's been like 3 episodes. And yet, hardly any screen time. Which is kind of sad, because I think Lena Headey's one of the best actors on the show. But nonetheless, it's an interesting end. I kind of wish Cersei had actually been killed by someone, preferably Jaime, but never mind, or even Arya, anyone. So it's kind of anticlimactic in a way that she was just crushed by rubble in the end, along with Jaime. I think I kind of like that her and Jaime did die together. I always thought that would kind of be something that happened, and she died with Jaime's blood on her hands. I think that might be the only time she's physically had blood put on her hands before, because she normally has people do her dirty work for her, or if not, one of the few times. And I think that's kind of poignant that it was Jamie's. So I really liked that kind of imagery, and it was kind of an interesting end for them. I mean, I kind of wish, in a character standpoint, I wish Jamie had gone full circle with his arc, and gotten over Cersei and been the one to kill her, but, you know, I'm kind of disappointed that they seem to have kind of undone, like, 4 or 5 seasons of character development in one fell swoop. So I was hoping what he was saying to Brienne and everything, and going back to King's Landing, was just a ruse so he could kill Cersei and she wouldn't follow him, but he seemed to just be genuinely still, you know, in love with her. And I get where they're coming from with that, because people try to move on from, like, manipulative and toxic relationships, but sometimes they just get pulled straight back into them again because it's the easy option. So I can see they could do that story with Jamie, and they did. But when you've told that one story with a character for 8 seasons and 9 years, I feel like it's a very unsatisfactory ending to that arc. To just have them go back in the space of like 2 episodes. That's just my personal opinion, but I think that's kind of a shame what they ended up doing with Jamie's arc. And yeah, while I wish Cersei had been killed by someone like Jamie or Arya or something, I think it's definitely an unexpected kind of thing to have Cersei be killed by no one and just the rubble and stuff. And I am glad she's dead, because I didn't think, I never thought she was going to survive, and it's satisfying to see her die in that way. Again, I didn't really feel the sympathy for her that I think the episode was trying to make us feel. They tried to make us feel very sympathetic to Cersei throughout the whole episode. It was just like, they were writing this season, like, oh yeah, Cersei's the villain, she was evil, she like killed Missandei in the previous episode, and they were writing it thinking, oh shit, guys, there's only 1 episode left after this. Oh fuck, you're right, let's just make Dany evil this episode. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's make people feel sorry for Cersei. I mean, obviously I feel bad for her because she's pregnant and that's an innocent kid, and that's really tragic. I completely understand that, and I feel for that. I just don't feel, she could have avoided it. And she's an evil bitch at the end of the day. Fantastic villain, fantastic character, don't get me wrong. Jamie and Cersei are both fantastic characters. I just think it could have been a better ending. But like I was trying to say, no matter who had killed her, if someone had just killed Cersei, people would have moaned about it. Like, why didn't Jon kill Cersei? Why didn't Jamie kill Cersei? Why didn't Arya kill Cersei? So I can kind of understand trying to avoid that by having none of them kill Cersei, and it was just like the thing collapsing on her, and it was literally like her home, and the thing that's always been her safe space was the thing that ultimately killed her. I think's kind of cool. But yeah, that's still going to be, I think a lot of people are still going to moan that no one physically killed Cersei themselves. So yeah, it's a weird thing, that one. I don't know how I feel about Cersei's end in particular. Not entirely happy with Jamie's end, but I think Cersei's end I could go either way. But nonetheless, like, kudos to Lena and Nikolaj for being incredible for the past 8 seasons. And to the whole cast, really, everyone. We lost a lot of people in this episode. Most of them have like been in it from the start, so mad respect to you guys. Because at the end of the day, you may not be happy with where they're going, you may not have enjoyed the past couple of seasons, because I know a lot of people do not like season 7 and 8. Not that 8's done yet. A lot of people do not enjoy those seasons, I get that completely. A lot of people don't even like season 6. It's actually one of my favourite seasons. But at the end of the day, they've tried their best to entertain us over 8 years, 9 years, 8 seasons. And it does make compelling TV, even if sometimes the writing isn't completely making sense, if you know what I mean. And some people are like, a Game of Thrones actor or actress will tweet something about the show, or they'll tweet anything ever, and all I get is responses like, Game of Thrones sucks, you suck, your character sucks, I hate you, I hate your character, I hate Game of Thrones, like, you've ruined the show with this season. Like, you can't blame the actors for just saying the lines. Like, that really pisses me off. as someone who wants to get into acting, I get really annoyed when people attack actors and actresses for a lot of the time decisions they had literally no say in, you know? But there we are. I think a lot of that is going to come out of this episode, unfortunately. But I think that's a good thing about Game of Thrones, is the complexity of things. I just wish the fans weren't toxic, and I just wish people were good. You know, I honestly feel like a lot of fans just don't deserve the shows. You know, I mean, everyone knows how The Last Jedi was received, and how the Star Wars fan base has become super toxic, and Doctor Who as well. They've become just as bad with, you know, Jodie Whittaker coming along in Series 11 and stuff. We really are getting to a point, I feel, where we just don't deserve good television anymore, you know? We're living in a world where a lot of reality TV just goes under the radar, no one really says anything about it. And then we get shows like this where it becomes mainstream, and then we get fake fans on board who are just there for the hype and then hate on it, even though they haven't been there since the start. And yeah, I just think we're getting to a point where we don't deserve a lot of the shows that we have, and that makes me really sad, because on my channel I do try to always find the positives in TV shows and episodes I watch. I try not to be overly negative, and if there is something I don't like, I try to be balanced about it, which I feel like I have tried to be in my thoughts here, because like I said, I'm not a fan of the Mad Queen story. I don't like that they went that direction, but at the same time there have been some building blocks there in the past. Was it rushed? Yes, I completely agree with that. And I do think it's a detriment to the character of Dany that they haven't built that up properly in the last couple of episodes or even seasons. But it was still a viable option the show could take, so I'm not mad at it. And just because it's not what I wanted to happen doesn't mean it's not good, if that makes sense. And I think I'm probably going to be saying that for the finale as well, so I highly doubt I'll be completely satisfied with the finale, in terms of like what happens to characters and stuff, but that doesn't mean the story's bad, you know? So yeah, that is this episode. I think that's all I'm going to say, in fear of starting riots and getting all the hate in the world. Hasn't been too bad. I got some really nasty stuff in the last reaction, but I just deleted them because they're bastards. But anyway, yeah, that was this episode. I actually think it was, as an episode of television, incredible, outstanding. And Game of Thrones at its worst is still better than most TV out there, to be honest. And even if sometimes the story doesn't make sense, the characters don't flow properly, or they go against character arcs and stuff, I can still sit back and enjoy it, and just take it in and live the experience, which at the end of the day, that's all I need TV to do, you know? And that's what Game of Thrones has always done, regardless of whether or not I've liked it or not, overall. So yeah, if in terms of like the overall show, I think some of the decisions in terms of writing in this episode weren't particularly good or strong, and some things really took me out of the episode. Overall, you know, I think it's still a stunning piece of television, nonetheless. So yeah, great episode. I actually really enjoyed it. Very, very sad that it's all coming to an end next week, but I am excited / nervous to see how they're going to wrap things up. I just hope, even if I don't like everything that happens, it's a justice to the story, and it's a justice to an incredible show, the success of which probably won't be matched ever again. Certainly not in my lifetime, I don't think. I'm not sure we're ever going to get a show like Game of Thrones ever again, in terms of like what a global phenomenon it's become. So yeah, that's this episode. Really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to wrap the whole show up next week. Should be quite something. Yeah, so that was this episode, and until my reaction to the last ever episode, that is sad. Yeah, thanks for watching.